Hi guys, welcome to another week of meal ideas. So these are some of the things that we've been enjoying recently. Tonight we are having prawns and pasta. I'm particularly excited about this one because this is chard, rainbow chard from the garden. I've just taken the stalks off because I find they take a little bit longer to cook. And these cherry tomatoes are from my mum's garden, which is really surprising because I'm not sure when this video is going up, but it's late October now. And they're still growing in her greenhouse. And then I've got a bit of garlic and I'm going to add it with tomato sauce. And this is the pasta, which is already on the boil here. I've just drained the pasta. This is the same pan. I popped a little bit of oil into the bottom of it and I'm just frying off the charred stalks first of all. Next up, I've added the tomatoes and the garlic and a little bit of black pepper and some Italian herb, the mixed herb. I can't get it to fry. I've now added the passata to it and I've got some, maybe like 1/4 teaspoon of flaked chilies in there. The charred leaves and the prawns, they really don't take very long at all, so I'm just going to put them into the pan for the last 2 minutes. And this is it, all ready to go. Tonight we're having sea bass. I've got some pieces of sea bass here and we're having it with lime and ginger. I've got some grated carrots, broccoli and some noodles. The broccoli takes the longest to get ready, so I'm starting that off first, and when it's nearly ready I'll pop the noodles in with it. I'm frying the sea bass in some sesame oil and I have now added the noodles into that pot. These are very thin fillets, they don't take very long to cook. I've added the ginger to the pan now. I want the skin side to stay down for the longest because that makes it nice and crispy. And I've also added some spring onions. It's just the white bulb part that's in there. Normally I would hold the green back and sprinkle it on before serving, but my spring onions don't seem to have any green left on them. It's just the bulbs that I've got now. I'm just putting a little bit of soy sauce onto these and then I'm going to flip them over and just finish that other side off. I'm just putting the carrots on top of the noodles. They're just grated. I haven't cooked them at all. They're just going a little bit brown because they're reacting with the air. And I'm squeezing onto that the other half of the lime. The first half of the lime actually went over the sea bass when it went into the pan. This one has collapsed a little bit, but to serve you just put the sea bass on top of everything with the ginger and the soy and sesame sauce. Tonight we're having liver for tea. I forgot to take them out of the freezer until about lunchtime, so they're not totally defrosted, so I'm just setting them in some warm water to finish them off. Let me know if you do that or if you've got a good trick for getting things defrosted quickly. We're having the liver with onions and colcannon, which is basically mashed potatoes with kale in it. So I've just ripped up the kale and taken out the big thick stalks of it. I've got time on my hands. That is such a bad joke. Every single time Trevor tells me that joke, this is time from the garden, always makes me laugh. I'm going to mix that with some flour and salt and pepper, which I'll dip the liver into. And then you mix that all up together. I'm also just chopping up some bacon into strips with the scissors to go with it. The strips seem to be getting wider and wider. So it's pretty good for you, but definitely an acquired taste. One I am trying to acquire, but I think it'll be okay. I think one of the keys with it is not to cook it for too long, just fry it lightly because it can get rubbery quite quickly and you want it to stay quite tender. Might need a little bit more of that flour mixture in here. I've also got some onions and I'm gonna do a kind of a gravy with a beef stock cube. The potatoes are in too. They're just starting to boil. I'm frying off the livers, so I'll do maybe a minute on each side. This pan could do with being a little bit warmer. It should be really sizzling when you put them into the pan. And I've also just added the kale on top of the potatoes, and then I'm going to mash that all together with milk and butter and maybe a bit of pepper. These have had a couple of minutes now. I'm going to take them out of the pan. It's okay that they're still a bit bloody because they're going to go back in the gravy in a few minutes and get finished off. The liver is out of the pan now and I'm frying off the onions and the bacon, and then I'm going to add the stock to it. And while that's frying up, I'm going to mash up the potatoes, the kale and some butter and milk. I've added half of the stock in with the bacon and the onions, And the other bit that's left in here, I've just mixed with 2 tablespoons of flour, and I'm going to whisk it up so it's nice and thick, and then add it into that one, which will make a nice thick gravy. And the last bit now, you add the liver back into it, stir that all up, and just let that liver finish off cooking for 5 minutes. And this is it. Liver, onions, a bit of bacon, and some nice thick gravy. This recipe is kind of adapted from a Hairy Bikers one, so do check that out as well. Tonight I'm making fish pie. I had some mashed potato left from last night, which we had with the liver, so I'm just doing a little bit of mash and I'm going to mix the two together. My fish pie mix was replaced in the shopping with this frozen one, which is fine I guess. The only difference with this one is you don't defrost it, so you cook it from frozen. And then I'm also adding to it some sweet corn. I'm just going to cook it in this glass dish. My parsley outside is definitely starting to get affected by the cold now, so I'm just going to take all of this, and this will be the last picking for this year. I've diced up the parsley. I also picked some chives, and I've got 1 egg. Normally I put 2 eggs in. I only had 1 today, so 1 is going in it. And I'm going to make a white sauce now. So for my white sauce, I've got butter and flour just to make a roux, and then you add milk to it. You just want to get those, it's hard to do it without holes in the pan. You want to get them mixed together to form a paste, and that's the roux part of it. Then you add the milk. I also like to add mustard powder to my white sauce, but I do find it goes lumpy, so I add this at the very end once the sauce is already thickened. This is all ready for the white sauce to go on, and then you put the mashed potato on top. I am going to try adding some of these bonito flakes. They're like a smoky dried fish, so I've not put them in before, but I think they will give it a nice flavour. I did also pop some pepper in there as well as the chives. I added an extra splash of milk to the parsley sauce because it was very thick, but there is also a lot of liquid in that frozen fish, so you don't want to add too much. I've spread that mash out now across the top, and I'm just going to pop it in the oven for about 20 minutes at 180 degrees. This is the finished fish pie, guys. It actually has taken about 45 minutes. That frozen fish took quite a while to cook. I had a bit of a dig down inside it and it just wasn't done, but it's all ready to be served now. And I said to him I'd make him anything he wanted, and he asked for carbonara, so that's what I'm making.